You are listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 29. Today, we are hearing from Sarah Therese, a highly successful vlogger who is going to share her journey to navigating marriage and raising 3 beautiful young children while still managing to grow her business and success. I have such an admiration for mothers and all that they do every day and cannot wait for you to hear her story. So get comfy and let's jump right in. You are listening to Love Unplugged, a podcast focused on love in all its forms. I'm your host, Jessica Frigon, hopeful romantic and founder of Project Love. I found that too often love is set aside or taken for granted, and we tend to forget how to care for ourselves and our important relationships in the day-to-day chaos. So let's slow down, tune in, and begin our journey of rediscovering love. From honest heart-to-heart conversations with real couples and knowledgeable guests to deep dive reviews of new products and services that will help you feel beautiful inside and out. If you're looking for relatable advice or wanting to be inspired by real-life love stories, you've come to the right place. Without further ado, let's get to it. Hello, friends. Today I am joined by Sarah Therese, a successful entrepreneur, a mother of 3 beautiful kids, and a wife. And today we're going to hear all about motherhood and how she juggles her many responsibilities and advice for mothers on how they can do so also. So welcome, Sarah Therese. I am so honored to have you as my guest, and I'm so excited to learn all about your story. But before we start, for those that don't know you yet, which they should, I would love for you to share a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so just like Jess said, I'm Sarah Therese. I have 3 kids, 3 and under, and I've been married for almost 5 years now. So I am a stay-at-home mom. That was my dream, and ever since I was little, that's what I was so intent on being, was a mom that stayed at home. So that's very cool. I get to live that now. And on top of that, I'm able to work from home. I work on YouTube. I do Instagram. I do different collaborations and partnerships with companies and such. And yeah, I live in British Columbia, Canada, and like the greater Vancouver, Fraser Valley area. And I was born and raised here. It's absolutely beautiful here. So no one can pull me from this place. But yeah, that's pretty much me.
Awesome. So let's start with motherhood. Did you have any fears about having children? I know you said that you wanted to always have children, which is an amazing dream for a child.
Yes, I know.
But did you have any fears?
You know what? As soon as any woman gets pregnant, the first thing that goes into their mind is, for the next 9 months, I'm growing a child inside me. It's going to get bigger and bigger. And at the end, I have to push this out. That was the thing that I thought, this almost sounds like a joke. Like, this doesn't sound real. So when I got pregnant with Ivy, I had a huge fear of childbirth. It was something that, they depicted on shows and you kind of watch and you wonder, is that what it's really like? And when it comes down to it, it's almost maybe worse, if I can dare say that. But I remember just watching these shows and these ladies were kind of in pain. I thought, oh, that looks horrible. And then I saw a video on YouTube of a woman actually in birth, and I thought, oh my, okay, so this is what I'm going to have to do. But as the time went on in my pregnancy, and I think this happens with a lot of things pertaining to being a mom and just having children, things that start off as fears later turn into responsibilities. So even though I had that fear of giving birth in the beginning, over time, it was more of my responsibility. This was something that I had to take upon myself and kind of deal with myself, of course, my midwife, my doula, and my husband. But this was really on me. So definitely childbirth. It's a scary thing for a woman to go through the first time. With every time it gets easier. For sure.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because it's the difference between knowing what you're getting into and having no idea what's coming. The first time you second guess yourself and you wonder, is this it? Is this what I'm feeling? Should I be concerned? What should I be doing? And then the second time you relay it back to the last time and you go, actually, this worked really well. Actually, I really enjoyed this. And then with my third one, it was my easiest. I knew what was coming. I knew the feeling of it. And she was born lickety split, which was very cool.
So just keep having them.
So just keep having them. Yeah, girl, don't stop. No, honestly, here's the thing. I'm done, as far as I know, I'm done having kids via my body. I love the idea of adoption and fostering. That was really kind of preached in my husband's home, and some of his sisters are adopted. And just that whole story is really beautiful. So that's something me and my husband would like to get going on sometime in the near future.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah.
Childbirth has always been my biggest fear.
Okay.
In stopping me from
wanting
to have children. I'm like, oh,
did my kids not tempt you to want to have children?
They are adorable, so if they can come out looking like that and acting like that without having to put in all the work, maybe.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. No, totally. Yeah, childbirth physically is intense, but I think actually as a parent, once you get past the childbirth stage, it's more along the lines of what scares me, even now being a parent, is the outcome of my children. I think beyond childbirth and physical pain and all that stuff, when it comes down to it, I'm really, and my husband Kieran is really working to shape our kids and make our children kind of just morally beautiful kids. And the idea of us putting 18 plus years of work into these kids, and then maybe they turn out to be someone that, not that we're not proud of, but maybe we weren't expecting. That's really kind of scary and intimidating. And I've seen some amazing parents have some kids, and then along the way, the kids just kind of let go of their relationship with the parents. So my previous fear was definitely childbirth. And now I'm still kind of living in this fear. What will the outcome of my parenting be upon my children? And how will they live beyond just being in my home and stuff? That's something that I still kind of honestly, like heart to heart, I really struggle with, for sure.
I can definitely understand that.
Yeah.
So you don't have as much control, right?
Oh,
they
way less control.
Eventually will have to make their own decisions and choices.
Yeah, it's so true. And I'm a control freak. I love having control, and I love having my hands in things, and I love making things turn out the way I want them to be. But when it comes to children, you give them as much as you can, you guide them, you encourage them to do certain things, live a certain way. And in the end, it's their decision, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Were you a vlogger before you had children? Did you have your business before?
I did have my business before. I started doing YouTube, I think I was like 15 years old. I grew up in a homeschool family, and I was paired off to doing different activities with all my siblings. So if my sister was in dance, I was in dance. If my brother was in art, I was in art. I was always kind of paired off in an activity. And I came to this point where I was like, I love being around my siblings, and I love sharing in a bunch of things that we can do together. But I don't enjoy that there's nothing that's really my own. And I want to start something my own, claim it as my own, and continue on. So YouTube did not come from a place of wanting to make income or even securing my future in that sort of sense. It came from a place of just wanting to do my own thing. And that's how I got started with it. And 15, 16, you're into the hair and the beauty and the makeup, and it's everywhere, and your friends are into it. And that's how I started my channel. That was the foundation of my channel. But as time has gone on, having kids, being married, doing all this stuff, I no longer kind of partake in like the whole beauty realm. It's very much more lifestyle, because my different my focus is different. It's not the way it used to be. It's not where it used to be, right? So where it used to be almost very self-focused on the beauty and the makeup and all that stuff, now I'm very selfless focused, and I am on my kids and my husband. And because of that, being more into health and minimalism, organization, all this stuff, I get that much more fulfillment out of it. So that's why I continue doing what I do, because it's beyond just my work. It's actually just my life. And I just so happen to film it and share it with people.
It's evolved as you've evolved.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And that's the beauty about YouTube. It's not something that's supposed to stay the same. Mm-hmm. It's not something that is constant in that sense, but it's ever evolving and changing. And that's why it's really worked for me so far.
Did you have any fears about how having children would change your business?
Yes.
And maybe your ability to do?
Totally. And I started doubting myself, I think, when I had my son, Calvin, doubting myself in how can I put on makeup all the time? How can I go shopping for all this makeup? How can I go to all these events? And honestly, how can I afford this $150 palette that everyone wants me to talk about? It came to the point where it was like, it just doesn't work anymore with me, with my kids. My work now, because it is about my kids, because it is about just my life, I'm able to pick up the camera in front of my kids and film. And it gives me a lot of freedom. It's so much more simple and enjoyable to do, to have my kids in on it, and as well as my husband too. So the beauty thing didn't work because it just wasn't, it wasn't something that was meant to be long lasting with kids. It's just not realistic.
Gotcha. So what's something that motherhood taught you that you wouldn't have learned otherwise?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I remember being like in high school, and I was homeschooled, but in high school, being homeschooled and working a couple jobs and going out and doing these group things and thinking like, I am so busy. Like, people don't understand how ridiculously busy I am, and almost like, someone pity me. I am so busy. And I really had that mindset when I was kind of like 16, 17. And then I had kids, and I wasn't too busy with just Ivy. When I had Ivy, I had to work to actually be busy for some reason. I wanted to get out. I wanted to see people. I was involved in a lot of like first time mom groups. Like, I worked really hard to be busy because she napped a lot and she just wanted to eat. And she was very,
They're having fun up there.
They're having fun up there. And she was very happy to entertain herself. So I had to really fight to be busy with Ivy. But then as every kid has come, and as we welcome more kids in, I have to prioritize my time hugely. That is the only way that I'm able to stay at home, keep tabs on my home, make it a beautiful, clean, happy place, make dinner, meal prep, serve my family, serve people outside of my family, and work and create a business and a brand from home. It's all about really being on top of
everything.
It's the scheduling, and it's, I think especially planning. I almost have nothing in my week that surprises me ever. I'm so on top of things that nothing in my week surprises me, or I don't let things in my week surprise me, because it's just, I can't do it because I'm so set on doing these key things. This is my goal for the day. This is what I need to do today. This is stuff pertaining to my kids that I need to focus on. And I can't believe how busy I am now and how much I really have to manage my time now, but it is doable. I think a lot of moms come to me and they're intimidated and they want to work from home and they're like, how do I do it? Is this doable? And my first answer is, it's always doable. And you have to start somewhere. The best thing you can do is start.
It's true.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Just
don't
start.
overthink it, right? Too many people overthink it, and they want it to be a certain way, and they over professionalize it, which takes a lot of just your character out of it. And for me, a lot of people, they come back to my channel, they say, Sarah, you could make a video where you're like sewing buttons on a top, like an ugly top, and we would actually still watch that video. So it's not even so much getting people to love your brand or your content, but just you in general. Like, that's what people come back for when it comes to my videos and my channel. They come back just for me, which is so crazy to think about. Isn't that so crazy to think about? It's so humbling, and it's really beautiful to even just kind of think like that. So when it comes to my content, it needs to be full of me. Because that's why people come back. And I know that I don't want that to sound proud.
No.
But
they're connecting with you.
They're connecting with me, right? And it feels so much more personable and more like a friendship.
Definitely agree. All right. So do you have any tips or hacks for staying on top of things with more than one child? I've kind of seen a little bit of your world today, and with 3 kids running around, and you are just so relaxed and at peace in the kitchen, just making dinner. And here I am. I have one kid on me, one kid in my arms, and the other one's showing me your entire house.
Yes.
I wouldn't be able to get anything done.
I know.
I don't know how you do it.
You know what? It's very busy in here, and I say this a lot, and a lot of people can take this the wrong way, but I mean it in a very, this is a very good tool to give yourself and your kids. There needs to be a healthy disconnect between you and your kids at certain times of the day. A lot of people want to be 24/7, hands-on with their kids, on the ground, playing with them, giving them what they want, holding them. And for me, there's definitely times in my day where I need to do that for my kids because they're kids and they need that. But there's also times where I need to clean and I need to be on the phone, and I need to work, and I need to make dinner and get everything else done in between. So one of the best things that I can do is actually disconnect from my kids a little bit and give them the ability to go play and go entertain themselves. Parents that are hands-on 24/7 with their kids, I feel like are not giving their kids the tools that they need to be very responsible on their own and entertain themselves on their own. So Ivy, in the morning, she wakes up and she knows her duties and her responsibilities, and she'll go ahead and be super hands-on. She picks everyone's clothes for the day. She picked my outfit this morning. And that's her way of really, firstly, just being a part of the family and helping us out. She's also someone that loves helping people and serving anyway. So that's a huge act of how she can show us all love in a sense. Mm-hmm. And then on the other hand, she has the ability to go ahead and be in freedom when it comes to what I sometimes wear and what Elizabeth wears and Calvin wears. So giving your children a little bit more space, a little bit more freedom. I always don't leave the house and let your kids roam free, but it's the idea that you're creating a little bit of a distance so they can go ahead and do what needs to be done in the little ways and in the little points in their life. I don't think people see their kids as being capable enough. My kids are extremely capable to do so many things. Even my almost 1-year-old Elizabeth, I saw her yesterday cleaning up her toys and realizing these toys are on the floor and they need to go in that bin. So the idea of taking a step back, giving your kids the tools that they need, and just encouraging them through that, because kids feed off of encouragement and positive praise. It's been a huge thing for me, and I've reaped so much of the benefits from that. And then it also is just really kind of forming my kids into these beautiful little characters, which I really love to see.
I love that because it allows you to stay you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You can often lose yourself when you're giving 100% to your children, which, I mean, I get in some circumstances, maybe you need to, but usually they are capable of doing things. They are capable of entertaining themselves. They are capable of being on their own in another room, like in the living room or something like that, without you kind of over them the entire time.
And like what you said, it's different for everyone. I have some mamas and they said, you know what, Sarah, I need to be a little bit more on top of my kid because I'm dealing with this. Or there's another sort of situation that has made the mother just want to be all the more so. But I think if you kind of just have the need for you to get things done and also the need to really watch your kids grow and take responsibility in big ways or in small ways, it's a great thing to do. Just a healthy disconnect. Not ignoring. Some people can hear disconnect and think ignoring, but that's not what it is. It's giving them space and responsibility. It's so important.
You're teaching them to be independent, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what I've always found is I know some people that are very on top of their children all the time, and they can't leave them for like a couple of hours. They can't have a date night with their husband. They can't. They have to be home within like X period of time in order to do the routine with their child because their child is no longer able to do it without them.
Right.
Right? So you're kind of imprisoning yourself as well. You're creating that environment.
Exactly. And then in that, you're sacrificing other things that are important. And you know what? Kids are amazing, but they'll suck the life out of you, and they'll suck the life out of your relationship with your partner and your spouse as well. So especially when it comes to date nights, it's making sure that when you leave, you're letting your kids know, this is for mama and papa. This is for me and me, because we need to take care of our relationship so we can take care of you guys the best as well.
Because you technically are the foundation of the family.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
If your relationship is not working, it affects your kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, so true.
I love that. So do you have any other tips to stay organized and schedule your day properly? Like, you were just
how much time do you have?
1:00?
Yes. When Jessica first came in, I was like, sorry about the smell. My house smells like garlic and onions, and my kids were running around with her. And I was like, it's 1:00 and I'm making dinner. And you know what? I do this a lot throughout my day. I prep my day perfectly. And the reason I do this is just for productivity, getting things done that need to be done, or that just don't maybe need to be done, but I would really like for them to get done. So for me, it's being extremely organized. My planner is amazing. It's just, you go to Chapters, buy a planner. I have different columns that signify work, different columns for meal planning, different columns for what I want to do chore-wise. And then I have different columns for my husband's schedule, and then appointments for my kids. So my planner for me is pretty much just everything that's going on in my brain in written form. It is the most beautiful thing that's ever been written on earth. It's so practical. It's very easy to follow it. I find, and we were just talking about this, I get so foggy. My brain gets so foggy between kids and wife stuff and work stuff. I get really foggy. Having the ability to write everything down, and I'll write down big things, I'll write down little things. It's just having everything laid out, because I'm such a visual person. I think most people are. So if we can see everything we have to tackle and do, we're able and much more willing to do it. So my planner is huge. Staying organized on top of things is huge. Prepping things, like the fact that I'm making dinner now later tells me that when dinner time is almost here, I can make it in a flash. And then it also gives me a chance to hang out with my kids more instead of making dinner at that time, because usually into the evening, my kids have more of a need of me, which is really beautiful. And I love to fulfill that need. And honestly, just minimalism. I don't have a ton of crap in my house. I'm not stuffed to the brim with clothes and toys. Everything that I keep in my house is extremely minimal, and everything I have is a need and a necessity. I was reading an article by the Minimalist guys, and they were saying most people, if they had 75% less of what they actually own in their houses, they would have 6 hours of free time a day. When I read that, I thought, oh my goodness. And it's so true. I am able to stay on top of everything in my house because I don't have a lot in my house. And because of that, my kids can also, that's a huge helping hand with them, because they can go ahead and do all these little small things through the house instead of, you need to clean up your toys. And they're going, we have so many toys and so many bins, and where does everything go? Everything's very small and minimal and doable. So having less stuff gives me more time to do other important things. So that's pretty much it. My planner is my favorite book in the world. Minimalism, prepping, staying organized. It's kind of an art, maybe even a skill, but I enjoy doing it.
I want to see this planner.
No,
I do want to do mine.
Oh, yeah.
I love planners. It's awesome.
Me too.
And also, when you put something on paper, you don't have it going on in your head anymore. You don't have to worry about forgetting it and
it's
missing
written
it.
down.
It's done.
It's written down and done.
It's awesome. So how has having children changed your relationship? So you got married 5 years ago. You have 3 kids already.
Yes.
So that's quite a bit to add on to a marriage.
Yes.
So did you learn anything new about your husband that you didn't know before?
I absolutely did. So I think everyone goes into marriage with expectations. And the thing is with me and Kieran, our first year of marriage was an extreme adjustment period because we got married in, I hope I get this right, January of 2015. Ivy was born early February 2016. So the first year of our marriage, I was pretty much pregnant. So we're not just adjusting to life as newlyweds, but we're adjusting to life as future soon-to-be parents. So that was something that was really intense. And through that whole period, I went through a time of just expectations. I had a lot of expectations before I got married, but once I was settled into marriage, they became more. And especially being pregnant, I think all moms think of, or wives, they think, oh man, he's gonna feed the baby and he's gonna do all the diapers. He's gonna be such a hands-on dad. And I had that expectation and I was shocked when it wasn't fulfilled. And I was like, I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like I'm the only parent, and it's the feeling of almost like single parenting. So for me, I was shocked at how hands-off Kieran was in the beginning. And a lot of that was from he didn't know how. He hardly knew who I was, let alone who this new baby was. And there was a lot of things through the adjustment period of marriage and becoming a dad where he had to let a lot of things go that weren't easily let go of for the sake of me, for Ivy, and just our whole little family unit. So Kieran was hands-off a lot in the beginning. And then over time, and it took a lot of time, but over time, he started slowly figuring it out. And that was another huge thing. Kieran is a slow thinker. He thinks and does things very slow. For me, I could go vegan tomorrow. I could. If someone said, you need to go vegan, I'd be like, on it. I can go vegan tomorrow. Big deal. But for Kieran, he would be like, give me 2 years. I need 2 years to go vegan. Like he's very slow. For me, let's do it now. I'm ready now. And for Kieran, it took longer. So I'm wanting this fulfilled expectation fulfilled now. And I remember my friend saying, nope, that's not going to happen. Knowing Kieran and knowing his character, it's not that he was doing anything bad. It's just, it took him time to figure out my expectations and what I needed and what Ivy needed. And as time has gone on, he has slowly realized that he gets so much more fulfillment out of giving me and Ivy fulfillment and what we need. And that gives him the power and the gusto to continue on loving us and taking care of us. Those were some huge cliffs that we had to climb in the first little bit of our marriage. And it was very, very intense. Calvin came soon after Ivy, and then Elizabeth all the sooner after Calvin. So it's been a very busy period, but I almost feel like right now, because we had kids like boom, boom, boom. I almost feel like right now we're getting back to the newlywed stage. Like, I'm not pregnant. Oh, Lord willing, I don't want to be pregnant again. And we're at this point where we're kind of relearning each other and going through those motions again. They say it's like almost like every 5 years, you kind of go through those same, so that's where we're at right now. And it's nice. It's really nice. Yeah.
That's cute. I love that. Did you guys, how did you guys get through those challenging periods? Did you seek counseling? Did you learn how to communicate better? Did you read books? Like, what did you do to finally get on the same page?
You know what? Good question. A lot of it was encouragement from people outside of our family. So I would talk to someone in my friends group or in my church group and just be like, this is my problem. What should I do? And a lot of the time it was a me issue. I would come to them with the issues of my husband isn't doing this. I'm feeling like this. And they would flip it around. Instead of then your husband needs to do this, it was, this is what you need to do then, Sarah. And I was like, really? And everyone that Kieran sought counsel with too said the same thing. So instead of us going through this period of trying to change the other person to better suit us, it was changing us to better suit that person. And the change came when we realized that, and when people encouraged us to not live for ourselves, to not live to just serve ourselves. We're here to serve each other. And the amount of satisfaction that comes from that is huge and quite beautiful as well. So it took people in our life to kind of encourage those changes to get through that time. And books are huge. My husband and me, we're really big book people. We like reading books. And if we can read something in plain black and white saying, this is what you got to do, we'll do it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What's something unexpected that you learned about parenting that you didn't know before? So having kids, you have all these ideals before you have children of, what parenting is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have them and it's often not the same as what you expected. You have different little characters. Every little child is different.
Yeah.
So what's something that you learned from that?
When it came to parenting, again, I tried to parent Ivy and Calvin and Elizabeth very well, in the sense that I gave them my time and my energy. And in that, I was keeping myself almost distant from Kieran. And I found in my marriage, when I was keeping myself distant from Kieran, my kids lost their security in mine and Kieran's marriage. And I was learning about kids having security in their parents' marriage or their parents' love for each other or whatever. And I thought, that is really interesting. And someone told me that mine and Kieran's married relationship gives my children so much. And I was like, really? Like, aren't I the one that gives my children so much? But me and Kieran realized the more we took care of our marriage, the more our children were taken care of emotionally, mentally, and even physically. They were so much healthier. They were sleeping better at night. They were eating better. We were like, this is amazing. The more that I work on my marriage with Kieran and love Kieran and vice versa, my kids benefit from that. So when I thought about having kids and all this stuff, I came from the idea of, I'm going to give my kids everything, my time, my energy, and then some. And then when I had kids, I realized that I was giving them all these things, but it wasn't going the way I thought it would. And I expected more of my children. And I realized I was actually just forsaking my relationship with my husband. And that's where my kids get a lot of their security. I think all kids are different. Kids can pull security from different places, but realizing where your child pulls that security from, making that a strong foundation in their lives. So when we were first married and had kids, I was just so focused on my kids, forsaking my relationship with Kieran, and realized very, very soon that in doing that, my kids weren't okay. And it was honestly, it was an easy switch. It was when we started implementing couch time. So couch time is something my parents did when me and my siblings were little. And I actually loved couch time. So 15 minutes a day at least, me and Kieran sit down on the couch, and the kids are allowed to be around us and air quote, hang out with us, but they're not allowed to talk to us or ask if we can play with them or toys or anything. That is the time where me and Kieran have our time. And that is the time for the kids to see us doing that. And they have a lot of security knowing we love each other, we're together, an established family unit, and seeing them or seeing me and Kieran take time out of our day and even time out of our kids' lives to be together. I have a mom friend and she's a single mom, but what she does for couch time is sitting and she'll read the Bible or a really good book or call a friend and tell the kids, this is just my time. And the kids actually find so much security in seeing mama taking care of herself. That's where they find their security. And she says, whenever I kind of go off the deep end, she struggles with some mental health and whatever. She says, my kids suffer huge. But when I take care of myself and I show the kids and encourage them to kind of have that same kind of mindset, she says, my kids flourish. It's amazing.
It's amazing how much they can pick up on and how much they learn from you in such a young age.
Yeah.
It shapes who they're going to be.
And I think a lot of people doubt it. I think a lot of people look at kids and doubt their feelings and what they understand and what they pick up. But I mean, Ivy is 3, and the amount of things that she tells me and picks up and remembers, mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing, which is super intimidating for me because it's like, what are all the things that I've ever said or done or whatever, right? Because they just remember that stuff. I think it's actually a very cool thing for a parent to not doubt their kid. I think that's important.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So was your husband, Kieran, was he around, like raised around children? Did he always want to be a dad? Or was this more so you?
He wanted to be a dad.
He
wasn't like seriously, like growing up, people were like, oh, Sarah, like, what do you want to be? And all my friends were like, we want to be pilots and firefighters and all this amazing stuff. And I said, I want to be a mom of 15 children.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, 15. That is not a thing now. We have let that go, minus 12, and I'm fine with that. But I was intense about being a mom. Kieran was never that intense about being a dad, but he grew up with such a great dad he was so fun. He was such a good hard worker. And Kieran just loved the relationship that he had with his dad, wanted to do that as well with some other kids. So we were very much on the same page when it came to having children. And before we got married, we were like a couple years, no kids. As soon as we got married, we came together and we're like, do you have this feeling? And I was like, God wants us to have some children. And he was like, yeah, it's weird. He's like, I can't stop thinking about it. And then these children and whatever. And I was like, this is so not planned. But it was nice that, because I have a lot of friends that are like, I just want to have kids, but my husband doesn't want to. For me and Kieran, it was like, we both want kids. We're both in. So it really felt like kind of a team effort at the beginning. It was almost like one less thing we have to quarrel about is children.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you guys have different parenting styles that you then had to come together and compromise on so that you're on the same page?
Absolutely. But not even so much compromise on, but appreciate the other person's way of parenting. So Kieran is a feeler. He is a feeler. So he's a feeler. I'm a thinker. So a feeler is someone that is very emotional. They base everything they do off of how they feel, how those other people feel. Very sensitive, very thoughtful people. I'm not anti that, but I'm definitely not that. So I am a thinker. I think it, I do it. I'm very matter of fact. That's just how I've always been. So when it comes to parenting, say Calvin, my 2-year-old son, he hit someone over the head with a book. Kieran will go, how did you feel about doing that? Like, what do you think you made? How did you think you made Elizabeth, my 1-year-old? How do you think you made her feel when you hit her over the head with a book? And me, it's like, you hit Elizabeth over the head with a book. You're sitting on the stairs, time out. Like, for me, it's like, we're not talking about feelings. We're talking about facts. For Kieran, it's like, we're not talking about facts. We're going to talk about how they feel about it. To be honest, feelings are huge when it comes to raising a morally responsible child. And I do really believe that. But at the same time, facts are key because facts are reality. So we are such a good balance. And even it was a couple days ago where Kieran was trying to correct one of the kids. They were doing something and he was coming from a very emotional standpoint because that's how he does things. And for me, I actually came over and added my thinker, matter of fact ways, and it complements each other really well. And we've both really come to appreciate how we differ in kind of our parenting ways and how we do it with our kids, but also know how well it complements each other. And Kieran, a lot of the time, will run to my side if I'm with a kid and trying to correct them in something, and he'll give them more of the emotional substance that they need. And then I'll do the same for him, giving the kids the more matter-of-fact substance that they need. It's honestly worked really well.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that nice?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice, right? Like it works really great. And I married Kieran knowing he was soft, knowing he was he was that guy that put like a bunch of letters in my windshield, and like he wrote me letters. Like his feelings exploded all over everything. and he's still like that today. And for me, it was more like, well, like, see you when I see you. Like, that's how we were. So I knew getting into marriage and parenting, this was something that we weren't so much going to have to deal with, but have to kind of accept each other with, because this is beyond just, he does this. This is his personality. I'm not going to tell him to not be like this. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to work with what I got. He's going to work with that. We're going to complement each other somehow. I feel like a lot of couples will just let it go. And it's more like, actually, this would complement each other really well. You might have to dig really deep to figure it out, but this could work.
I love that, because, I mean, in any relationship, you're never going to be 100% on the same page when it comes to parenting. Everybody has their different opinions, mm-hmm. the way that they are raised, the environments that they are mm-hmm. raised in, etc. So it's so awesome to, instead of look at the other person's strengths and or weaknesses, or however they're raised and how they parent, looking at it a different perspective and how they complement your style, and they're bringing something to the table that you're not necessarily bringing. So then you're more balanced in your parenting.
It's a perfect balance.
Together.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally agree.
Looking at it a different way and not making them change to how you think that it should be parented, mm-hmm. But coming together to do that.
Yeah. Realizing how well you guys complement each other. I mean, that's why you got married, right?
You married that person for a reason, right? You like who they are. You like how they are. Mm-hmm. So using their skills and how they are in those situations is key.
Yeah.
I love that. Let's talk about the relationship. I want to hear all about this.
Oh, man.
So how did you guys meet? How long have you guys known each other?
Oh, okay. Yes. We both grew up in the church together. So I actually did some research like a while back, being like, when did I first meet Kieran? And I was 4 years old. And I remember going to his house and playing cards on his like hardwood floors with him. And we were both just little. And so that's how we first actually met in general. As time went on, we grew up in the same church, and I feel like it's just a thing. You go to church together, you get married, church together and stuff. So, but when I was 14, I thought, this guy is where it's at. 14 years old, really thinking I could marry this guy. Easy. And that night I wrote down in my bucket list that I wanted to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. I want to work from home. I want to be beautiful. So we're still working on that. And I want to marry Kieran or someone like him. And that's exactly what I said. I want to marry Kieran or someone like him, in brackets, because I mostly just want to marry Kieran. So it was very cute. And I crushed on him for a long time. And it was beyond just like, he's cute. I like the way that he dresses. It was his character. Like I was reading Shakespeare at 12. I was a deep person, like emotionally. I love just like figuring people out. People were interesting and very cool to me. So I kind of went through this period of loving Kieran and just thinking, this guy's amazing. 3 years later, I'm 17 and he's suddenly giving me this really nice attention, letters. He would loan me books, which was like in our church, like if a guy loaned you a book to read, like you might as well get married. Like that's how it felt. Like it was so funny. So he would loan me like these books and I thought like, wow, this guy really likes me. So we started dating at 17, 19. I got married at 19 years old. So that's how it kicked off. Yeah.
That's so cute.
Isn't that nice?
That's so cute.
Yeah. It was so cute. He is such a great guy. Even when he proposed, I was just talking to my friend about this. We were sharing our proposal stories. He proposed, we were in a forest, because we always found ourselves in forests for some reason when we were dating, and we were running through the forest barefoot because we're like that. And we're running through the forest and we find this creek and we go and we're in the creek together and it's just us. And he starts washing my feet because I'm filthy. And he kneels down in the water and he's washing my feet. And he's telling me about how, like in the Bible, it talks about how Jesus washed his disciples' feet. So basically what that is just coming to be a servant and to serve. And Kieran said, in our marriage, that's what I want to give to you. So he washed my feet, nearly dropped the ring in the creek because it's pretty small. Oh, and I said yes. And then, married at 19, thinking about that. Whoa.
That's
crazy, right?
That's young.
That's young.
That's young. But again, you knew at 14, which...
I've been waiting 5 years for this.
What 14-year-old has a bucket list that they write?
Oh, really? Do 14-year-olds not have that? Did you not have that?
I still don't have that.
And how old are you?
Oh, 36.
Oh my goodness, girl, you're late.
I know. Like 20 years late.
No, it's all good.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Oh,
that's
sweet.
So awesome.
Sweet.
So how do you balance business, raising kids, priorities in your relationship? Relationships take a lot of work.
A lot of work.
It's not you're just there.
Yeah.
You actually have to put in the work to make it work. So how do you make sure you have time for everything and your relationship?
Yeah, I know, right? Just like I said, everything is planned. Everything is planned. There's also a lot of things I do in my life to make things easier. Like my kids all go to bed at 7, all of them in bed at 7. And the reason why is because I am now guaranteed 2 hours of uninterrupted time with Kieran, because we usually go to bed at 9 because we're a bunch of old people. So I'm guaranteed 2 hours. So that gives us time to hang out, to be intimate, to talk, have good conversation, and even just to be together in silence. We don't even need to be full on talking to each other, but just being together, that feeling. So that's how I hugely feed my relationship with Kieran. Again, couch time is fantastic. And for the most part, we make up lost time on weekends, because if I'm working full time, Kieran's working full time, we have kids. You know what? Like, reality boost, you're not going to be able to fit in everything you want to fit in a single day with your spouse. That's just not going to happen. So a lot of time we do make it up on the weekends, and that makes the weekends that much more exciting. Just work-wise, my work is done when my kids are not present. So not present pretty much means in bed. So I wake up early in the morning while the kids are still sleeping. I take care of myself, self-care, at that time, but I'll also go ahead and do some workload as well. So I wake up at 5 a.m. I got a couple hours to get some things done. That is a huge, look at your face. You're like, oh my goodness. 5 a.m. sometimes earlier if my body just naturally wakes up earlier. I don't even drink coffee in the day. Once a week, girl. I drink coffee once a week. On the mornings, Kieran, his love language is making me coffee. He loves making me coffee. So that's when, honestly, that's pretty much the only time I drink it. But I have a lot of energy through my day. So I find waking up early benefits me, benefits my kids, benefits my work. And then again, like the kids right now, the kids are napping so I can get some of this work done as well. And they will nap for maybe 2.5 hours. Usually my oldest daughter, Ivy, doesn't nap. Today she asked for a nap. So that's why I put her down. She's not into it. She wasn't into having a nap. But anyway, I really only work when my kids are not here. And it was literally, and I'm so thankful for this, 2 months ago, I showed Ivy a video that I did, and she was in that video, and we were watching it together, and she was like, what is this? And I was like, this is my work. And she's like, what do you mean your work? And I said, Ivy, aren't you curious? Like sometimes I have my camera out or I tell you I'm filming. And she was like, is this what you do during nap time? And I said, yeah. And she had no idea that I actually had an online job. That's how I knew I did my job right. She never felt like she had to compete with my job or my time. She had no idea that I worked online. And I was so thankful. So making sure that the only time I'm working is when my kids are not present. I never want them to feel like they're second or that they're competing. If there's ever a time that happens, I'm cutting my workload in half or I'm leaving. Because it's not worth it ever, ever, ever. It's not worth it. So that was really cool to hear that from Ivy. That was very like uplifting. You know, it's that I feel like I finally done something right.
Yes.
You know, that kind of feeling. So taking advantage of when my kids sleep, and then when my kids go down for bed at nighttime, taking advantage of that time with Kieran. Weekends are a beautiful thing to make up for lost time and to get things done. And you know, I pull a lot of late nights and early mornings and I'm go, go, go. But how I just kind of plan out my week with my husband, with my kids, makes it all very doable.
How do you get this energy? The no caffeine.
I pray a lot.
Like, where does it come? Are you like stocking up those vitamins? Like,
whoa, yeah. Well, you know what? Girl loves herself a green smoothie. I have not yet had one today, and it's 2:00, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you that because I have green smoothies every single day. My energy is just genetic. I wake up and I don't wake up groggy. I wake up ready to go. And 5:05, I'm going for a run, or I'm working out, or, you know, or I'm in my Bible, or I'm journaling, or like I am up and ready to go. I think the thing that gives me the most energy beyond just genetics is knowing the amount of happiness and fulfillment and good effect I get from waking up early. There are days where my phone doesn't go off, or my alarm is stuck, or I have it set to 5 p.m., which has happened to me a couple times. And I go, that was my time in my day. That's when I was supposed to get up and do stuff. So the idea of waking up early keeps me going throughout my whole day, because again, like we were kind of talking about foundation in marriage and parenting. And I think even just in your day, there needs to be some sort of foundation to get you going. For me, it's the morning. That's when I start. Energy wise, yeah, that's what I rely on. It's just the knowledge of knowing what I'm able to do. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good for my kids as well. And also for my husband to come home and not see a tired wife. Not like that's a bad thing, because there are days that he comes home and you bet I'm exhausted. But for him to come home to a wife who's energetic and doing things and making food and with the kids, it's a fun environment and it's a fun place to come home to. So, but honestly, genetics are huge. So genetics are huge.
Keep procreating.
Yeah.
Because the 3 obviously have that energy.
Oh, they do, right?
It's awesome.
It's so awesome.
So now that you've talked a little bit about you time, so what does self-care mean to you?
Self-care is just recharge. Everything needs to be recharged, from our phones to, cleaning up stuff. Everything needs to be cleaned, swiped out, and recharged. So for me, that's what self-care time is. I didn't realize for like the longest time, I didn't realize how important self-care was for me. I was giving everything to my family and my kids, and that was it. And then over time, I was forgetting about myself. And in that, I was drained and I was uninspired and I wasn't disciplined. And so much of that was really hard to carry. So self-care to me is just a huge recharge. And that's in a lot of different ways. My 5 a.m. morning routine is self-care. That's a huge way. I exercise. I'm mentally, spiritually, emotionally, I put myself in the right place. Readying my home and taking care of my home before everyone wakes up is also very cool. And the ability, and every mom understands this, the ability to be by myself, completely by myself in utter darkness in the morning. Thank you, Lord. Like every morning I need that. I need that time. And that prepares me for the rest of the day with my kids, and my heart's in the right place. And the kids notice a difference if I miss my alarm. And even Ivy is like, you didn't wake up early, did you? And I was like, well, you're good at this.
She picks up.
She picks up?
Yeah.
Oh, does she ever pick up?
She's a smart little cookie,
She's
that one.
Smart. Oh, man.
So what advice would you have for women that are about to become mothers, or maybe they're new mothers, to help them navigate the changes that bringing a child into this world comes with?
Yeah, absolutely. Accept these things. And I know that's such a weird thing to say, but I wish someone accepted or told me, Sarah, you need to accept that you're going to be tired. You're going to need to accept that postpartum really sucks. And you're going to need to accept that you're stuck in this for a really long time. I wish someone told me, because you continually, after having a kid, you hold on to what you used to have. And I think we're naturally very selfish people, and we think about ourselves too much and too often, especially myself. I catch myself like that all the time. But if someone told me to accept everything that I'm to go through, my attitude would have been so much better. I would have been rooted in something so much more beautiful to give to my husband and to give to Ivy and then my other kiddos. The ability to accept the things you cannot change. I know it mildly sounds like a superpower, and maybe it is. But it is something that I have really continually preached into my life, preached into the kids' life as well. I think it's a great thing that you can actually tell your kids from an early age, this isn't going to change, so you better start accepting it. Having acceptance changes just your overall look on everything. I benefit highly from that. I've talked at a lot of women's groups and moms-to-be groups, and I say, accept those things you can't change, and also soak it up. I can't believe the amount of times, like, I look back on pictures and I was like, not only where did that time go, but why didn't I soak that up that much more? He's an amazing musician, John Mark McMillan, and he talks about how he went into his closet one day, and he's the dad of how many kids, and he goes into his closet right into the back, and there's scribble marks all over the closet, but only from like 2 feet down. And he's thinking, all my kids are a lot older than this, like, why would they color 2 feet down? So he realized it was a past work. It was from years ago that his kids did it. And he said, if I saw that the day that happened, he said, I would have been mad and upset. I would have screamed at my kids. I would have been angry. And he says, now that I'm looking at it 2-3 years later, he says, it's beautiful, and that's the idea of going through life. You want to get through these moments. And when these moments come, you're angry, you're upset, you're feeling just kind of negative. But as they pass, you actually have a different outlook on things. So yeah, accept the things you can't change. I preach that to all my mom friends.
Roll with the punches.
Yeah, roll with the punches, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. All right. So if anybody wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. I'm on YouTube at Sarah Therese, or I'm on Instagram, Sarah Therese V. You can even just Google me. You'll find me there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, for sitting down with me and sharing your story and such advice for new mothers. That's amazing.
Good. Oh, I'm glad.
I know I've learned a lot.
Perfect.
So it's been truly a pleasure getting to know you. So thank you for being on the podcast today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Love being here.
I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to www.projectloveco.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another unplugged conversation.